Hello everybody, this is Blossom from Tales Unfold, and in today's video we're going to talk about writing fiction for your healing journey. This is part 2 of the 2-part video mini-series on YouTube, and it is related to the previous video from last time. So let's dive in. As I mentioned already, in the last video we talked about an exercise of writing to help you in your healing journey. And this was expressive writing. And this is one way to deal with traumatic events. However, for some people it can be better or more beneficial to take another path. If you get stuck on a topic and you keep writing about the same event over and over and over again, and those images keep returning, you might experience the feeling of being unable to move on. Then there is another option for you. So if journaling about your feelings and exploring the event and the details of it leaves you in even more pain, then it is time to move on to another writing exercise. You can start writing fiction for your healing journey. One of the massive impacts of trauma is that people's entire worldview changes. Even how they see themselves, and the realization how little control they have over their own life. And by losing their sense of selves and their idea of control, it is so difficult to lead them back to a path where they feel like they can take back the lead of their own life. But by writing fiction, we can write someone else's story, and we are detached from our own sense of self. And this gives us time and space to breathe before we can own this story as our own. And fiction writing for your healing journey gives you the option to regain power over this situation. I want to mention a few pointers before I give you some tips on how you can start. So let's start with length. It doesn't matter in what format you want to do this. You can write it in poem form, like haikus. Write short stories, novellas, or even a series of novels. This only depends on how much time and effort you want to invest, and if you enjoy writing overall, and of course on how much free time you actually have. Then privacy. If you write to work on traumatic events, only let your own eyes see these words. Otherwise you will start to censor yourself, to leave things out. Don't show it, not even to very close people. And you also don't need to worry about pacing, grammar, story arc, or anything like that. Any other technicalities. Nobody's going to see it, at least not in its very raw form. If you want to publish your story at a later point, you still can worry about it then. Now, tools. You can use anything you want. Often for journaling or other writing exercises, it is recommended to use pen on paper. It slows down your thoughts and lets you reflect. However, I personally think that if you want to write fiction, especially if you want to write longer stories, so you go up to even already with short stories or novellas or novels or series of novels, that using your laptop, your computer or your tablet, it just works just as well. And so don't restrict yourself if you prefer typing over handwriting. Then setting. The time of writing is your own. So if possible, create a space. That doesn't mean you need a specific room, but use it if you have it. But create a space where you don't get disturbed. This is choosing a time of day, a corner, and set your boundaries. I don't want to get disturbed right now for the next half hour, if you like. How much time you spend on every day or every weekend, that is completely depending on your schedule, that you have to figure out for yourself how you can do it. And then before you begin, take just a few conscious breaths. Just give yourself a moment where you can slow it down, where you can slow your entire system down. Just take a few deep breaths in and out. Like we mentioned already in the previous video, you can also cleanse yourself after a writing session, or do a quick meditation. Now that you are all set, let's think about how you can begin this story, short story, novella, novel, poem. So the first thing is the environment you want this story to take place in. Environment, world building. So if you only want to write a few hundred words, you are probably not too worried about big world building all around, or at least not in great detail. But in whatever manner you want to go on about this, try to envision a very different environment from the actual event. Let's say you had a car accident, right? And this happened on a very busy road in a big city. So then transform it into something very different. You could let an accident happen on a muddy track in the middle of a forest. Make it a fantasy forest, right? And highwayman may have set up a trap. The horse you were riding just panics and you fell off and you broke your arm. You could also use a more futuristic setting if that is something you like. So your character might be on a spaceship, and as they got hit by a meteor shower, and as your character tries to reach the control centrum, a loose box hits you and you break your arm. Basically, you are the storyteller, so get creative. Just make it just very different from what actually happened. The event, the broken arm, can still be the same, but make the setting different. Then you write about the event itself. So often people who are experiencing or have experienced trauma will not even acknowledge it, as they might think it could have been worse. That is often well, you still have it good compared to. Others are suffering more. Others have bigger problems than I do. Or people think that their story is not unique because it happens to so many. But it is unique to you. Your reaction to it is unique. Others might have reacted similar, but it is never really the same. Your environment was unique, and also what you perceived during it is only something you can write. And some people might not even remember the full story of their traumatic event. Maybe it's foggy, it's hazy, everything was happening so fast. And memories can also be faulty. Don't think that your memories are always true. So before you write, remember every story has a beginning, a middle and an end. Even if it's just a short story. There might be a bit of a difference now with haikus, right? But if you write a bit more, remember that a beginning, a middle and an end. And the event will happen in the middle. How much time you want to spend on your beginning is then up to you. Ask yourself what led up to it. How could it come to that? And let the character explore those questions. When it comes to the event itself, try to remember what you saw, what you heard, and what did you smell during the event. Remember the details as best as you can try without re-traumatizing yourself. And try to incorporate it in your writing. For example, in the case of a car accident, perhaps you smelled black powder after the airbag opened. That's often what we can smell, and then we are afraid that the car will explode at any second. So let a highwayman from before use a gun and fire it just in front of your horse. Perhaps you were just taking out a fresh baked bread when your world turned upside down. So use the scent here and describe the warmth of the oven in your story. When you reach the end of your story, take some time to ponder about where you are now in this life, in your real life in this story. Now, characters. You can write your story from whatever viewpoint you like. You can let your main character act the exact way you did and explore with them why they reacted the way they did, or let your characters take the lead, or your main character. Let yourself be surprised what they would have done differently. Perhaps you wish that you would have walked away from an abusive relationship earlier. It's often those regrets that we have, or we cannot even forgive ourselves for, that we were not, as we think, strong enough or not intelligent enough, we didn't react the right way. So let your character explore this option. Would it have made a difference, you think? And also, you can also give your characters a different backstory. So maybe they have been raised very differently. And their characters are just different. They are quicker to speak up. They stand up for themselves. Maybe they are even much more impulsive than you are. So when you explore your characters, don't judge them. Allow them to act the way they want to. And they will have a life of their own at some point. And give them space to breathe. While writing the story and let the characters act the way they want to act, you might explore something about yourself that you just didn't know about yourself yet. And if at the end of the story you don't like it, you can still change it. You can explore very different options. You can write the same story over and over again and just give them a little bit of different traits. And you also don't have to focus on only one character. Perhaps you want to include certain archetypes in your story, like the sage, the magician, the explorer, the rebel, or anything you can think of. You can also put that onto your character and use it to guide your character through the story. Explore your own shadows through storytelling and put those aspects onto others. Exaggerate those aspects if you like. For example, you might have a quick temper. Put it on another character. Let it blow out completely out of proportion, and with this character you can explore where this is coming from. I am sure you will get real creative with that, and especially if you know that nobody will ever read this. Now let's come to the end. You don't have to stick to your own ending of the story, of your personal story, of your traumatic event. You can change the outcome for the character. Let them find hope and meaning in this whirlwind you just put them through. I mean, you probably haven't treated your characters very well, so give them hope. Let there be compassion and let them find healing in their story, as their healing will become your healing. And as I mentioned already, if you are not satisfied with how your characters reacted, write another version. You can write so many versions of that story. You will grow with them. You can also write the same, or you set out to write the same version, but just in a different setting, and see what changes then. And perhaps you want to give your characters again a different backstory, and explore if they would have reacted differently, as we discussed already. As you see, you have many options, and you can try many different versions. So you can see that if you take that approach, then, well, short stories will be the better option. But however, sometimes a little self-exploration can also lead to novels. So I myself wrote a story because of a loss I was going through. And it all began with a lighthouse. And it turned into the world of Naviira. And if you want to read something about my books or the books, I will put a link in the description box where you can find them. And in my case, the lighthouse was a catalyst for so many things, and I didn't even realize it until after 6 months after the loss. And through the writing process, many things of my past came back to the surface, and some issues even from things that were still to come, which is weird and scary, spooky. And to say writing is magical is an understatement, really, in my opinion. It can open so many doors, and I hope it will open many doors for you as well, especially for your healing journey, and that this can help you really on your path. So I hope this was helpful and that you can use it. Let me know what you think about that. Have you done anything like that already? If so, write it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. You know you help me out with those things. Thank you so much. I hope your world is kind. Much love and bye.